Hungary is often considered a crossroads, a gateway between the West and the East. It's a small, export-oriented country in Central Europe, but playing a growing role in international relations. I speak to Hungary's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Peter Szijjartó. I met Minister Szijjartó at Hungary's embassy in New York City.
Minister, great to see you. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to our chat.
Globalization, which it sounds like you're an advocate of, you can see in China. I was just in Anyang, you see a Volkswagen plant there. This collaboration, globalization, and yet also you see kind of a retrenchment and, kind of like, I've got protectionism, that's my goal. That's a conflict that's raging as well. How do you remedy that?
Well, I think that the international cooperation and the patriotism can absolutely be living together. They are not contradicting to each other. In case there's mutual respect. Because if there's mutual respect, then everyone can verify his or her national interest in a way which does not cause loss to the other one. On the contrary, can bring benefit to the other one as well. I hope that instead of this block philosophy, a kind of global cooperation will take place.
Szijjartó has served as Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade since 2014. Previously, he served as a member of the National Assembly of Hungary. In recent years, Hungary has found itself caught in the middle of an international conflict with the outbreak of fighting in Ukraine. About 2/3 of Hungary's gas imports come from Russia. Hungary signed a 15-year gas deal with Russia in 2021.
Look, it's not complicated because energy is a matter of reality. So there are very conservative ways how you can deliver the energy sources. You need pipelines, and if you have a pipeline, you can buy oil. If you have a pipeline, you can buy gas. If you don't have a pipeline, you can't do that. So, I mean, it's not that complicated. And therefore, I simply don't understand those who want us to cut ourselves from the Russian energy sources, because if we do so, then physically speaking, we cannot supply the country. Not because we would not want to, not because that would be our political taste or whatever. Simply, it's excluded. I mean, if you don't have a pipeline with enough capacity, you can't supply your country. So, and on the other hand, we have a long-standing energy relationship with Russia. And in such serious cases, you only change your reliable partner if you have a better offer, right? More reliable, cheaper. But we don't have such an offer. So, I mean, why we would change a reliable supplier to something uncertain or something impossible? And on the other hand, we are a small-sized country, or mid-size, landlocked, no oil fields, no major gas fields. So, in order to make us more protected from these very volatile changes of global energy markets, we need to create electricity on our own. Now, how we can do it? Through nuclear. And, we have a long-standing cooperation with Russia on nuclear because, in the 1970s, we have built our first nuclear power plant together with the Russians. So now we are building the next one, next 2 reactors with them as well. It is interesting to see how many German, French, American subcontractors the Russians are working together with on that project. But, energy security is a matter of national sovereignty, is a matter of national competence. So I never questioned why Russia was the #1 uranium supplier for the United States last year. Why US bought more than 400 tons of uranium from Russia? Because that's my business. If it is okay for the Americans, for the Russians, why would not they do it? But then, I expect the Americans or anyone, not to interfere in our energy security issues either.
Forced migration, you talked about how you've had to suffer through what's happened in Ukraine, forced displacement. Can you talk to me about what the Security Council should be doing about these root causes? Because this is a serious problem that a lot of countries are dealing with.
Yeah, it is. But here we have to make a very clear distinction between refugees and migrants. And it's very easy to make a distinction because you just have to respect international law. Easy to say, complicated to implement, I understand. But the international law says very clearly that if you are forced to leave your home because of war or violence or terrorism, then you are allowed to go to the territory of the first safe country and you are allowed to stay there. That's what the international law says. International doesn't say second, third, fifth, 10th safe country, right? So, and in this regard, Hungary is the best example because we are located on a very busy migratory route coming up from the Western Balkans to western part of Europe, and we have blocked that route. So we have stopped more than 500,000 illegal migrants in the recent years who were coming from far away. So by definition for us, they cannot be considered as refugees because we are not the first safe country for them. We are like the 10th or 15th safe country, so they have no right to come in. And if such a person violates our border with Serbia, for example, which is another safe country, then we cannot consider it as an issue of human rights. We have to consider it as an issue of violence, so violating our sovereignty. So, a legal issue. But we have received 1.4 million Ukrainians as refugees because for Ukraine, we are the first safe country. So therefore, I think that if international law is respected, then we can address the migration in a very successful manner. How to do it? Tackle the root causes. So like there's Africa. The African population will increase by hundreds of millions in the upcoming years. Jobs must be created, healthcare access must be ensured, access to education must be ensured. African countries will not be able to do it on their own, or most of them. So we have to help them.
Last year, Chinese President Xi Jinping paid a state visit to Hungary, marking the 75th anniversary of relations between the two countries. Can you talk about the relationship with China and how the two of you have blended together? Belt and Road, obviously a proponent of that. And where do you see that relationship going?
Look, we have a all-weather enhanced strategic partnership with China. We are the only European country which has such a status in Chinese foreign policy. We are proud of that. The cooperation with China is based on mutual respect and has brought a lot of benefits to Hungary. Last year, the 44% of all Chinese investments targeting Europe targeted Hungary. 44%. Chinese companies are the #1 investors in Hungary now. Chinese companies are creating tens of thousands of new jobs, bringing in state-of-the-art technology and ensuring that Hungary will be among the global leaders when it comes to the electric transformation of the global automotive industry. So we have taken a lot of benefits. And this shows that this economic neutrality we are proponent of is a successful strategy. And, CATL, the world's leading electric battery manufacturer, has come to Hungary. But why? Because they are going to supply Mercedes, which has two huge factories in Hungary. Or EV Power comes to Hungary to supply BMW in Hungary again. So, and BYD, the first, #1 electric automotive company now in the world, is now constructing its first European factory in Hungary. So we've taken a lot of benefits, a lot of profit, and we are the best example for how much profit and benefit you can take from a civilized, respect-based East-to-West cooperation.
East-West-based cooperation. Talk to me about the pivotal role that Hungary plays in the sense that it really is kind of a bridge. China in the East, you've got the European Union, the trains themselves kind of linking. Talk to us about the role of Hungary in that sense.
Well, we try to convince our European partners to be pragmatic. Many European governments consider China as a systematic rival. But systematic rival, why? Why would we want to be involved in a rivalry of systems? We should not care about the system in China as they should not care about our system. What we should care about is a good cooperation, right? To take the benefit out of the cooperation. So I was the first European foreign minister to sign the Belt and Road Initiative agreement with the Chinese foreign minister Wang Yi, a good friend of mine, back in 2015. we have been reconstructing the railway line between Budapest and Belgrade in order to make sure that the deliveries of Chinese goods from the Greek ports to the western part of Europe will be quick, and we will be the number one transit route. And we try to convince the Europeans, to see the benefits and don't put artificial obstacles there and don't ideologize the relationship.
Hungary's location in Central Europe and its highly trained and educated workforce have made it attractive for foreign direct investment. Most recently, German company Siemens built a new factory in Budapest, as well as a training center and a solar park. Talk to me about growing that. Foreign direct investment, you talked about that. I mean, it's so interesting. We got a German plant, you got the Chinese plant. How do you continue to attract foreign direct investment?
Look, we have the lowest tax rates applied in Europe. We have the only single-digit corporate income tax rate. We apply a flat tax. We do not discriminate any investors based on nationality. We have transformed our higher education in a way to supply the labor force demand of the big companies. And we created a one-stop shop service for all incoming investors to be able to manage their issues with the state in the in the smoothest possible way. Let's put it that way. And then we all know that exports definitely determine our national economic performance. So those companies which can be competitive on the international markets are definitely to the benefit of us.
Let me ask about supply chains, because it seems like whenever there's trade tensions, there are additional casualties, like Hungary, your relationship with so many different countries. Do you worry about that moving forward?
Well, we are in favor of shortening the supply chains, definitely. That's why we are happy when the Chinese and the Germans are building factories in Hungary, because then basically the supply chain route is zero. I mean, politicians should understand that nowadays corporate strategies of companies in different countries are very, very closely interlinked. So if there are sanctions being put on one, then it can hurt our own interests as well. So these supply connections should be respected much more. If you think back to COVID, when the borders were closed, I mean, remember what kind of disruptions we had to experience.
Foreign Minister, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.